Hi guys, in this video I'm going to walk you through this lesson 2 of our unit 3. Remember we're working with brushes. So this week we are going to create 2D landscapes. Let me show you some examples so that you can see what you will be doing this week. So over here, I know you've seen this before. And what we are going to do is to create landscapes like this, okay, with mountains, with water, with pine trees or trees. If you want to do a landscape from the beach or another like place that you like, you can do it, okay? These are the things that I'm expecting. As you can see, they have realistic clouds, they have a lot of trees, they have light effects like this one, they have fog. We have a lot of elements here, and you may think that these are complicated to do, but actually they are not, because brushes will make this process so much easier. This way we can be more creative without having to spend a lot of time doing this amazing artwork, okay? If you remember from the first unit, we started using the selection tools to create different objects, right? Like the donut, and then we took an image and we used the magic wand tool, and then we filled out that image. So we have a lot of things that you already know how to do. So for example, in this case, you have a mountain, which you can do with the polygonal lasso tool or the lasso tool, and fill it out with the gradient tool or the paint bucket, right? But what about all these details, all these light and shadows from the mountains? Like this one, maybe you think they are complex to do, but that's why we have brushes, okay? This time you are not going to download images from trees and making the selection so you can fill out the selection. This time these trees are already created. You just need to practically use brushes as stamps, okay? So you will find this very simple. We have many brushes. Over here you have this link that will take you to the folder over here where I've uploaded a lot of brushes, okay? Brushes that I think you are going to use, like waterfalls, trees. You have many trees here. You have grass, you have some stars, plants, animals. These landscape brushes, they have a lot of textures for the mountains, for example, and the water. You have clouds. There are many elements here that you can use. My recommendation is just to select them all, to select all the brushes. We have 50 folders of brushes, and just download them, okay? These will take around 15 to 20 minutes or so, depending on your internet connection, but also because they are a little bit heavy, okay? So that's my recommendation. Download the brushes, and then let's move on to Photoshop to start working with our 2D landscape. Okay, so now I have all of the brushes here that I downloaded from my site. As you can see, there are 50 types of brushes. And the way you can recognize these as Photoshop brush sets is by the extension. The extension is .abr. This is how you recognize these files, okay? Now, if you try to double click the file, it will ask you for an application to open this, because this is not the correct way to use brushes, okay, or to install them in your Photoshop. The correct way is like this. Once you are here, you have the settings of the file in my site as well. Remember, we have the brush tool, which you can activate with the letter B. That's the quick key. And in this part, we have this gear. We need to go to import brushes, and then find the folder where all the brushes are downloaded. I have mine here, and you can just press Command A to select all the files at the same time, and then just click here, open, okay? Now all the brushes will be automatically arranged at the bottom of the brushes that you already have. Remember, you can compress the folders over here. So I'm going to go over here because I have all these brushes that I just imported. Okay, now this is where the magic begins. I have many brushes here, so if you click here in landscape, you can see that you have fog, that you have pine trees, you have fences, you have tree logs, you have spider webs, you have many elements here to start working with your 2D landscape. How are you going to do this? It's very simple. For example, if you are going to start by creating some mountains, right? I have one layer here. I can use either my polygonal lasso tool or my lasso tool. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to create a mountain over here, okay? Something like that. Let me go here so I can close the selection, right? How are we going to fill this out? You have the paint bucket or the gradient tool. Okay, so far we've only used the paint bucket tool, so let me show you how the gradient tool works. So I will click here, and at the top I have the options for the gradient tool. This part will allow me to choose the gradient. Okay, I have some basics gradients, etc. The gradient is created by your foreground and your background color. So for example, if I change here my foreground to be orange, and then my background, I change it for blue, whatever, then when I click here, my gradient changes as well. Okay, so for example, if I'm going to create a mountain, I want the top part to be lighter than the bottom. So I will choose a brown, a dark brown for that, and then a light brown for the other one, kind of like that. Okay, these are the types of gradient. So if you leave your cursor over there, you can tell the name of the gradient. If this is a linear gradient, you can click drag, okay, drag to create your gradient. So you just need to experiment with the gradient from the bottom up, okay, from the top to the bottom. You can do longer lines, okay, or you can do shorter lines to have different effects. This totally depends on what you want to do with your mountain or with your drawing, okay? Once you've set your gradient, how can you edit the gradient as well? If you go here, if you click on the gradient editor, you can move the color subs. Hold on. You can move the color subs, okay? You can add more colors to your gradient, so you can play with it. And once you're happy with your gradient, you just need to apply it again, okay, to see those changes. Now, once you've done that, press Command D, okay, to get rid of the selection, and you will have your first element to work there. All the elements that you do, this is very important, make sure you have them in separate layers. Okay, this is very important. What if you want to change the gradient from your mountain or the element that you are currently working on? You don't have to grab the selection tool again and select it. Just press Command and click on the thumbnail to activate the selection one more time. Grab your tool, modify your gradient, do it again, and once you're happy with that gradient, just press Command D. Okay, so this is the way in which you can create the elements that you cannot find on the brushes. But what if I want to put another element like trees? So I'm going to add a new layer. I will go here to my brushes. These are the ones that are going to make the magic here, okay? For example, I have some trees over here. If I click here, I'm going to choose some pine tree. As you can see, this one is really big. So I just need to decrease the size of my brush. Make sure you choose your color here in the foreground. And if you just simply do one click, you will set those trees over there. If you click and continue dragging, it works like the brushes we used on the previous lesson, right? This time we don't want that. For this type of brush specifically, what we want is to click a bunch of times to get different trees. What does the trick here, what does the difference is that you play with sizes, with colors. So what we are trying to do is to play with all the brushes that you have here. Combine the trees, play with the sizes of the brushes, etc. In this case, for example, if the brush has this axis that does not match with the color of your like, you have the eraser tool, okay? Just grab the eraser tool, change the size of it a little bit, and just get rid of the excess. Hold on, I'm using, let me increase the hardness so I can play with that, okay? I can get rid of all the elements. If you want to put your trees on the same layer, just remember that if you want to make some changes, they are all together. So my recommendation is to have as many layers as you can so you can edit the brushes independently, okay? What about some clouds or the background? I'm going to add another layer. I can use my gradient over here to play with the colors. I will choose that one to create my background, okay? Or maybe if I'm going to have a moon or sun over here, I can do a radial gradient, okay? I can use the gradient tool as the outer glow for my sun or my moon, okay? I have all these options here, and you have the opportunity to personalize your gradients as well. You have many brushes to work with. Let me add a new layer. Over here, you have, for example, if you want to put some clouds, you can find them there. Just click on the brush of your like, play with the size a little bit. I will choose white for this one. And then I will simply click in there to add some clouds to my work, okay? Also, if you work this independently, you can reduce the opacity of that layer to have some different intensities of the clouds. My recommendation is to just open the brushes first, okay, to see everything that you have here. Play with them like, okay, I will click in here, reduce the size, and I will see what this brush does before I start working with my project, so that you know all the possibilities that you have for creating this, okay? What about the grass here? You have some grass. This is like grass. So I can use that with different sizes and different colors, okay? I think even more, something like that. So I can start adding some grass here, okay? Look. Remember, you have the brushes panel that will help you with the settings of your brush so that you can adjust it and adapt it and modify it according to your needs, okay? You have many elements here on the brushes that you can simply click, okay, reduce the size and put them there around your landscape. There are some brushes, let me hide all of this. There are some brushes that allows us to add some texture to the elements, okay? For example, here I will add another one. I will choose a lighter color, and there are some brushes here in the environment that will help me to add some light or shadows to my mountains, for example, or other elements. I just need to paint around this, okay, to paint around this, something like that. But then we have the opacity of that layer, since I'm doing this independently, to just decrease it a little bit more, so it just gives me this feeling of light but without having it to be super straight lines, okay? And the axis of brush, I can simply remove it with my brush, okay? I can get rid of that with a soft round brush. This one's too hard. With a soft round brush, I can just remove all the excess of brush. And this way I can give some texture to all the elements that I have there. So now it's your time to be creative. I'm really looking forward to see what you come up with.